Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do a book review of God's God, written by Terry Pratchett. This was first published in 1989. It is the 8th novel in the Discworld universe and the first in the City Watch, or as I think of it, the God series. So first of all, what is the Discworld? It is very simply a world that is indeed a flat world. It is a disc that by itself rests on the back of 4 very large elephants, which happen to stand on the back of a world turtle, which, rather than swimming through water, it swims through space, as you would expect. And it sounds strange, but it works very well here. So, this book starts off in the city of Ankh-Morpork. Ankh-Morpork is essentially Terry Pratchett being very sarcastic about London, England. Every stereotype, every trope, and every sort of thought of London that people have had over the years, it being a busy, bustling city, the little alleyways and that sort of thing, is here and just twisted and turned and added large amounts of sarcasm to, which is frankly brilliant, which I love. And the city starts off with a secret society having a meeting. Now, at the same time as this secret society is having a meeting, the city starts to have a series of strange, small and irrelevant thefts start to take place of odd items here or there, as well as a series of very strange deaths or murders, nobody's entirely sure, in very strange ways. Basically, people seem to be getting, turned to dust or and their imprints are burnt against walls, which is a bit strange. Now, this leads to the City Watch themselves, the guards, being brought into play because they start to investigate. Because of course, strange murders, thefts, obviously, are what they are. After all, they are the City Watch. In other words, the police. So that's their duty, and they start to investigate. However, as things start to escalate, and it gets obvious what is going on slightly more, although nobody's sure the reason why, because there is, as the cover may show you, a dragon is involved in some way. I'm not going to say how, but it is involved, and a dragon is hard to ignore, although certain people are trying to do just that. They don't want the dragon to be there, so they hope that if the watch doesn't investigate it, it will somehow go away. Doesn't exactly work well for anybody involved, and let's just say events start to spiral outwards, chaos ensues, and the plot is really fun overall. Now, as far as characters go in this book, obviously the main captain of the City Watch, or the Night Watch actually, strictly speaking, because there is a Day Watch and a Night Watch, is a man called Samuel Vimes. Vimes is a hard-headed, stubborn individual. He will not let crime go. He works by what is right and what is wrong, and he just will not give up on anything unless he absolutely has to, and even then he'll try to refuse to give up. He'll try to work through it regardless, even regardless of what cost it has on him on a personal level. There is the Sergeant, Frederick Cullen, who is described in the book as a large fat man, frankly, which, now, some people that may seem frankly unkind, and the language might not be the most pleasant, insulting, because you don't want to say somebody's a large fat man, but it's a stereotype that Terry Pratchett plays into well, and he's not doing it to be mean or anything. He's doing it to make a point, a very particular point. And there is another character called Nobby Nob, or Cecil as his actual name is, although nobody actually knows that. And he is a small, weaselly type of man. He is known for being, frankly, a guard that is close enough to being a thief, though. I mean, in his prior life to being a guard, he had some dubious lines of work, let's say. And indeed, there is a new member of the guard who comes from the mountains, and that is Carrot Iron Founderson. Now Carrot is a dwarf by adoption, although he's actually 6.5 foot tall, so he's not exactly fitting in with the dwarfs exactly. I mean, for one thing, he keeps hitting his head when he goes to work in the mines, because the mines are designed for dwarfs who are a little bit shorter, so he has to sort of basically sort of crawl around on his hands and knees because he's actually so massive. He comes to the city, however, and finds out that there is a much bigger world up there than he realised. He somehow fits into the city and actually comes to love the city. And indeed, it's a large part of the book is essentially him being, the small town sort of country boy, essentially coming to their big city and having his eyes opened by city life, which is vast and open to anything. I mean, anything goes in the city, and he's not used to that. But he certainly starts to try and adjust. Obviously, his adjustments don't always lead to brilliant results, because sometimes he is obviously a very honest individual. I mean, honest to an almost painful level, and people don't know how to take him though, because people think that he's going to be a sort of a country bumpkin, as you might say, and in some ways he is, but not really. He's actually far more than that, and his incredible brutal honesty and his way of thinking is so unusual for the city that actually people seem to go along with him. And people can't handle him, so they just sort of give in and they go along with what he envisions the world to be, which is, honest and truthful. And he's got a very unusual sort of charisma about him as a result. Other important and interesting characters are Lady Sybil Ramkin, who is a member of basically the nobility of the city. She's extremely rich old family. She gets involved because obviously she runs the Ankh-Morpork sanctuary for swamp dragons. Obviously there's a dragon being involved, so she gets involved as a result. And she's a really fun and interesting character. And the last major character to my mind is the patrician, or the ruler of Ankh-Morpork, who is called Havelock Vetinari. He is a Machiavellian figure. Frankly, he's sort of this quite tallish, thin figure. You get the impression that he's obviously got, this sort of thin face and a little black beard. And he's very well groomed, and he's a very even-minded person, and he's very good at actually what he does, which is frankly ruling the city and making sure everything works. There were many rulers before him, and most of them were known for basically being fairly unpleasant. He's taken over, and people actually, whilst they don't still not like him as a ruler, because rulers give out rules that not everybody agrees with, the city is working extremely well, and that is creating a very interesting situation, especially with Vimes as being the chief of the guard. He directly interacts with Vetinari, and indeed obviously Vetinari and Sybil Ramkin know each other, because of course she's upper nobility, which obviously tend to go in the circles of power and such. So all these different combinations of links between characters and personality types work extremely well. And frankly, combine this with the city of essentially Discworld London, which is what Ankh-Morpork is, twisted at a very strange and peculiar angle, and you get an amazing environment, and it's just a really brilliant situation, which is just a true joy to read, because the characters are walking around these little alleys, they're interacting with all sorts of passers-by, and it feels, it's urban, and it's an urban environment that I'm personally not used to. I mean, yes, I may be in a city, but I'm not in a very urban part of it. I'm in these suburbs, so I'm not used to this very urban interior city location. And this is a brilliant city and brilliant situation to be in. And frankly, overall, this novel is one that works extremely well for that reason. Now, as far as ideas and themes go in this novel, there are a few of them. namely the main one being the idea of duty and also law and order and the way cities are run, and obviously the rulers of them, and in relation to the sort of control systems like the guards, medical services, fire, all the utilities that we take for granted, how this works together and combines. This book explores, and obviously with all a sort of tongue-in-cheek sarcastic humour to it, which is frankly brilliant and of which I love dearly. And the other major thing that I want to point out as far as the theme of the book goes is this as the first of the City Watch books, which all the City Watch books actually have in common, is they all have a feel of sort of film noir about them. That dark, gritty feel at points, especially with Vimes. Vimes is very much that sort of film noir character, and frankly he says several lines that are blatantly from Casablanca and Dirty Harry, to name but two. There are many other movie references here from the golden Hollywood years, which are brilliant when they are obvious references but twisted and turned in odd and strange ways, but they're really amusing. And the Guards books are all about the humour. The humour works so well in the Guards books and indeed in Guard itself that it's something that I love. And overall, this is a brilliantly well written book. The humour runs all the way through it to the core, mainly due to the way the characters interact within a city environment, which is described extremely well. And overall, I would highly recommend this novel, as it is the first of the City Watch novels, and personally it is one of my favourites among the earlier novels, and I would say this is a brilliant novel overall, and I would definitely recommend reading it. And with that said, that is it for this video. So if you've read this book or you would like to, then please leave a comment. If you want to say anything else or ask about anything else to do with the Discord, then of course leave a comment. All my social media links, as well as the link to this, can be found in the description box below. And that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.